Anger is one of the most powerful emotions we experience. It can build us or it can break us. Most of the time, it doesn't come from what people do to us. It comes from what we expect from them. Think about this for a moment. We get angry when people don't behave the way we want. We get bothered when situations don't go the way we planned. But life was never designed to follow our script. The moment we understand this, we gain freedom. If you want to never get angry or bothered by anyone, the first step is to understand the real source of anger. It is not others. It is our interpretation of their actions. Two people can face the same situation. One stays calm, the other explodes. The situation is the same. The difference is perspective. When we change our perspective, we change our experience. Instead of asking, "Why are they doing this to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Every challenge becomes a lesson. Every difficult person becomes a teacher, and every moment of irritation becomes a chance to grow. The second step is taking responsibility for our emotions. No one can make us angry without our permission. Anger is a choice, calm is a choice, peace is a choice. When we take ownership of our emotions, we take back our power. The third step is learning the power of pause. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space, we have the freedom to choose. A single deep breath can prevent a lifetime of regret. Pausing gives us clarity, reacting gives us chaos. Next, practice patience, not because others deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Patience is not weakness, it is strength under control. The strongest people are not those who fight the most, but those who stay calm in the storm. Finally, build emotional strength through purpose. When you are focused on a meaningful goal, small problems shrink. When your life has direction, distractions lose their power. Purpose gives you clarity, and clarity brings calm. So if you want to never get angry or bothered by anyone, remember this, change your perspective, take responsibility. Pause before reacting, practice patience and live with purpose, because true peace is not found in controlling others, it is found in mastering yourself. Anger often feels like something that happens to us. Someone says the wrong thing, someone ignores us. Someone disrespects us, and suddenly we feel the heat rising inside. Our heart beats faster, our thoughts become loud, and we prepare ourselves to react. But here is the truth we rarely stop to consider. Anger does not begin with other people, it begins within us. It begins with the story we tell ourselves about what just happened. Every single one of us carries expectations. We expect people to understand us, respect us, agree with us, and behave in ways that match our values. And when those expectations are met, we feel calm. But when they are not, we feel frustrated, disappointed, or angry. The moment we understand that anger is rooted in expectation, not in reality, everything changes. Because reality does not owe us anything. People do not exist to meet our expectations. They are living their own lives, carrying their own fears, struggles, dreams, and limitations. Think about the last time you got angry. Was it truly because of what the other person did, or because they did not do what you wanted them to do? Maybe they didn't listen, maybe they didn't agree, maybe they didn't respond the way you hoped. In each of these moments, anger came from the gap between expectation and reality. When we reduce that gap, we reduce anger. This understanding gives us power, because if anger comes from within, then peace can also come from within. We stop waiting for people to change, and we start changing the way we see people. We begin to replace judgment with curiosity. Instead of saying, "They are so rude," we ask, what might be happening in their life that made them act this way? Instead of assuming bad intentions, we allow space for human imperfection. Every person we meet is fighting a battle we cannot see. The colleague who snaps at us may be under immense pressure. The friend who disappoints us may be struggling silently. The stranger who behaves badly may be carrying pain we will never understand. When we remember this, anger softens into empathy, and empathy creates connection, not conflict. We also have to recognize how our past shapes our reactions. Our experiences, upbringing, and beliefs form invisible filters through which we view the world. Two people can experience the same event and feel completely different emotions. One remains calm, the other becomes furious. The event is the same, the meaning they attach to it is different. This shows us that emotions are not caused by events, they are created by interpretation. When we take responsibility for our interpretation, we take control of our emotional state. We stop giving others the power to decide how we feel. We understand that peace is not found in perfect circumstances, but in a resilient mindset. A mindset that does not collapse at the first sign of discomfort. This does not mean we ignore injustice or accept disrespect. It means we respond with clarity instead of chaos. Calm allows us to think. Anger clouds our judgment. When we are calm, we can address problems effectively. When we are angry, we often create new ones. The greatest freedom we can achieve is emotional freedom. Freedom from constant irritation. Freedom from being controlled by the behavior of others. Freedom from carrying unnecessary stress. And this freedom begins with a simple shift. Understanding that anger is an internal signal, not an external attack. When we learn to observe our emotions instead of becoming them, we gain wisdom. We notice the rise of anger, acknowledge it, and let it pass. We do not suppress it, but we do not obey it either. We treat it as information, not instruction, and slowly something powerful happens. We become less reactive, more thoughtful, more balanced. We stop seeing the world as a battlefield and start seeing it as a classroom. Every difficult interaction becomes a lesson. Every moment of frustration becomes an opportunity to grow stronger. In the end, the goal is not to eliminate anger completely. The goal is to understand it so deeply that it no longer controls us. Because when we understand the true source of anger, we unlock the ability to live with calm, clarity, and purpose, no matter what others say or do. Most of the time, we believe that the problem is what is happening around us. The traffic is too slow. People are too careless. Situations are unfair. Circumstances are difficult. And while all of this may be true, it is not the full truth. The deeper truth is that the way we see a situation determines the way we experience it. Two people can stand in the same storm. One complains about the rain, the other feels grateful for the water. The storm is the same, the meaning is different. When we change our perspective, we change our emotional response. Perspective is the lens through which we interpret reality. And that lens is shaped by our beliefs, experiences, fears, and hopes. If we believe that the world is against us, every challenge feels like an attack. But if we believe that life is teaching us, every challenge becomes a lesson. This small shift in thinking can transform frustration into curiosity and anger into understanding. We often react because we are focused on ourselves, on how something makes us feel, on how it affects our comfort, our image, or our control. But when we step back and see the bigger picture, our emotions soften. We begin to realize that most situations are not personal. People are not acting against us, they are acting for themselves. They are protecting their interests, their fears, their insecurities, and their dreams. And once we understand that, we stop taking everything personally. This does not mean we become passive or indifferent. It means we become thoughtful. We stop reacting from emotion and start responding from awareness. We begin to ask better questions. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" we ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" Instead of saying, "This is unfair," we ask, "How can I grow from this?" Better questions lead to better answers, and better answers lead to better lives. Perspective also teaches us patience. When we see challenges as temporary and meaningful, we stop rushing to escape discomfort. We understand that growth often happens in moments of tension. Muscles grow by resistance, minds grow by challenge, character grows by adversity. If life were always easy, we would remain weak. It is through struggle that we discover our strength. Think about a time in your life when something did not go as planned. At the moment it may have felt like a failure, but with time you may have realized it led you to something better. Many of the best opportunities in life are hidden inside disappointments, but we can only see them when we change our perspective. When we react emotionally, we narrow our vision, we see only the problem, but when we pause and shift perspective, we widen our vision. We see context, complexity, and possibility. We understand that every situation has multiple sides, and wisdom comes from seeing more than one. This shift also helps us build stronger relationships. When we choose understanding over judgment, people feel safe around us. They feel heard, they feel respected, and in that space of trust, conflicts lose their intensity, conversations become meaningful. Solutions become possible. We must also learn to separate events from emotions. An event is neutral. It simply happens. Emotion is the story we attach to it. When we change the story, we change the emotion. A delay becomes an opportunity to reflect. A mistake becomes a chance to learn. A criticism becomes guidance for improvement. This is not denial, this is intentional thinking. Over time, this practice builds emotional resilience. We become less fragile, less reactive, more grounded. We stop being shaken by every small inconvenience. We develop the ability to remain calm in chaos, steady in uncertainty, and hopeful in difficulty. And this is where true power lies. Not in controlling circumstances, but in mastering perception, because when we control our perspective, we control our response. And when we control our response, we control our life. In the end, peace is not found in perfect situations. It is found in a clear mind and an open heart, a mind that seeks understanding instead of blame, a heart that chooses growth instead of resentment. When we learn to change our perspective, we don't just avoid anger, we build a life of clarity, strength, and purpose. Most people believe that emotions are automatic, that they simply happen, that when someone hurts us, anger is the natural result. When someone disappoints us, frustration is unavoidable, but this belief quietly removes our power. Because if emotions are automatic, then we are victims of circumstance. And when we see ourselves as victims, we give away control over our own lives. The truth is far more empowering. We may not always control what happens to us, but we always control how we respond. Taking responsibility for our emotions is not about denying pain or pretending everything is fine. It is about recognizing that we are the authors of our reactions. And when we accept that role, we regain our strength. Blaming others for how we feel may bring temporary relief, but it also traps us. It keeps us stuck in anger, resentment, and helplessness. Responsibility, on the other hand, sets us free. The moment we say, "I choose how I respond," we step into leadership over our own lives. We stop waiting for people to change so we can feel better. We start changing ourselves. This shift is not easy. It requires honesty. It requires humility. It requires us to look inward instead of outward. It is much easier to say, "You made me angry," than to say, "I allowed myself to become angry." But inside that second statement is power. Because what we allow, we can also disallow. What we choose, we can choose differently next time. When we take responsibility, we begin to observe our emotional patterns. We notice what triggers us, certain words, certain tones, certain situations. These triggers often connect to past experiences, insecurities, or fears. By understanding them, we reduce their power, awareness weakens reaction, and self-awareness builds emotional intelligence. Taking responsibility also means understanding that our emotions influence our behavior, and our behavior influences others. When we react with anger, we spread tension. When we respond with calm, we spread stability. Emotions are contagious. A single, calm person in a heated situation can shift the entire atmosphere, and that person can be you. This is what leadership truly looks like, not control, not authority, but emotional responsibility. The ability to remain grounded when others are overwhelmed, the ability to bring clarity when others are confused, the ability to create safety when others feel threatened. We often think leadership is about changing people. But the greatest leaders change themselves first. They understand that their reactions set the tone. Their energy sets the direction. Their mindset shapes the environment. When they take responsibility for their emotions, they create space for others to do the same. This practice also builds deep inner confidence. When we no longer depend on others for our emotional state, we become emotionally independent. Our peace no longer depends on approval, agreement, or comfort. It depends on our values, our purpose, and our discipline. And that kind of peace is unshakable. There will always be difficult people. There will always be unfair situations. There will always be moments of disappointment, but when we take responsibility, these moments lose their power to define us. They become experiences, not identities, challenges, not chains. This does not mean we suppress emotion. It means we process it with intention. We allow ourselves to feel, but we choose how to act. We create space between feeling and behavior. In that space, wisdom grows. Over time, this habit transforms us. We become calmer, more thoughtful, more patient. We stop reacting impulsively and start responding purposefully. We stop blaming and start building. We stop complaining and start creating, and something remarkable happens. As we take responsibility for our emotions, others begin to respond differently to us. Conflicts reduce, communication improves, relationships deepen, not because people changed, but because we did. In the end, taking responsibility for our emotions is an act of self-respect. It is a declaration that our inner world matters, that our peace is valuable, that our growth is intentional, because when we take responsibility for how we feel, we take responsibility for who we become. And in that choice lies the power to live a life guided by clarity, purpose, and inner strength. In a world that moves fast, we are taught to react quickly. Messages demand instant replies. Situations demand immediate decisions. Emotions rise, and before we know it, words are spoken and actions are taken that we later regret. Speed has become a habit, but wisdom lives in slowness. And one of the most powerful skills we can ever develop is the ability to pause. Between what happens to us and how we respond, there is a brief moment, a small space. In that space lies choice. And in that choice lies freedom. Most people live as if that space does not exist. They move directly from feeling to reaction. But those who learn to pause discover something extraordinary. They gain control over their lives. A pause does not have to be long. Sometimes it is a single breath. Sometimes it is counting to 5. Sometimes it is stepping away for a moment. But that short delay is enough to calm the nervous system, clear the mind, and restore balance. In that pause, emotion settles and reason returns. Patience grows in that same space. Patience is not about waiting without feeling. It is about waiting with awareness. It is about trusting that not every moment requires immediate action. Some moments require reflection. Some require understanding. Some require silence. When we pause, we interrupt destructive patterns. Instead of shouting, we listen. Instead of reacting, we reflect. Instead of escalating, we de-escalate. This single shift can change the outcome of conversations, relationships, and entire situations. Think about how many conflicts begin not because of the original problem, but because of the reaction to it. A harsh word leads to a harsher reply. A small mistake becomes a major argument. But when one person chooses to pause, the chain breaks. Calm becomes possible. Patience also teaches us emotional endurance. It strengthens our ability to remain steady in discomfort. Just as muscles grow through resistance, patience grows through challenge. Every time we choose calm over reaction, we strengthen our inner stability. We often confuse patience with weakness, but patience is one of the greatest forms of strength. It takes courage to remain calm when emotions surge. It takes discipline to stay silent when we want to speak. It takes wisdom to wait when we want immediate results. In moments of anger, the body is flooded with energy designed for action, the heart races, breathing becomes shallow. Thoughts become narrow. Pausing allows this energy to pass without causing harm. It creates a bridge between impulse and intention. This practice changes not only how we respond, but how we experience life. We become more present, more aware, more connected to our thoughts and feelings. We stop living on autopilot and start living with intention. Patience also deepens understanding. When we pause, we give ourselves time to see beyond the surface. We notice tone, context, and emotion. We recognize that words often carry hidden meanings and unspoken needs. This awareness allows us to respond with empathy instead of judgment. In relationships, patience builds trust. People feel safe around those who listen without rushing to react. They feel respected. They feel valued. And in that space of safety, honesty grows. Over time, the habit of pausing reshapes our character. We become less impulsive, more thoughtful, more balanced. Our decisions improve. Our communication becomes clearer. Our presence becomes calming. This does not mean we avoid action. It means we choose better action. Action guided by clarity instead of emotion. Action rooted in purpose instead of impulse. The world will always be loud. Situations will always be demanding. People will always test our patience. But when we learn to pause, we carry calm with us wherever we go. In the end, the power of pause is the power of choice, and the power of patience is the power of peace. When we master both, we no longer live at the mercy of our emotions. We live guided by intention, clarity, and inner strength. Every one of us wants peace. We want a life that feels stable, meaningful, and fulfilling, but peace does not come from avoiding problems. It does not come from controlling people, and it does not come from perfect circumstances. True peace comes from purpose, from knowing why we do what we do, from understanding what truly matters. When we lack purpose, small problems feel big. Minor inconveniences feel overwhelming. Simple misunderstandings turn into emotional storms. Without direction, we become reactive. We move from moment to moment, pulled by emotions, influenced by opinions, and distracted by noise. But when we live with purpose, something shifts. We gain clarity, and with clarity comes emotional strength. Purpose gives us a long-term vision. It allows us to see beyond the immediate discomfort. When we know where we are going, we stop being distracted by every obstacle along the way. A person who knows their direction does not argue with every detour. They adjust, learn, and continue forward. Emotional strength grows when we connect daily actions to a deeper meaning. When our efforts are tied to something larger than ourselves, our tolerance for discomfort increases. We become more patient, more resilient, more grounded. We understand that not every moment has to feel good to be meaningful. Think about athletes, artists, leaders, and visionaries. They endure struggle, criticism, failure, and pressure. Not because they enjoy pain, but because they are driven by purpose. Their why is stronger than their discomfort. And that same principle applies to emotional mastery. When we are connected to purpose, we stop reacting to every opinion. We stop seeking validation from everyone. We stop allowing others to define our worth. Our identity becomes rooted in values, not in reactions. And that gives us emotional stability. Purpose also gives us perspective. We realize that many things we get upset about simply do not matter in the long run. Arguments lose their intensity, insults lose their sting, delays lose their frustration, because we see beyond the moment. We see the journey. This does not mean we become detached or cold. It means we become intentional. Our emotions become aligned with our values. Our reactions become aligned with our goals. We stop wasting energy on distractions and invest it in growth. When purpose guides us, discipline becomes easier. We choose calm not because it is comfortable, but because it serves our mission. We choose patience not because it is easy, but because it supports our long-term vision. We choose understanding not because others deserve it, but because it reflects who we are becoming. Emotional strength is not about suppressing feelings. It is about channeling them, turning frustration into motivation, turning disappointment into determination, turning fear into focus. Purpose provides direction for emotional energy. This is why people without purpose often feel restless, irritated, and unfulfilled. Their emotions have no destination. Their energy has no direction, and without direction, even small challenges feel exhausting. But when we define our purpose, we anchor ourselves. We create a foundation that does not shake easily. We develop the ability to stay calm in chaos, focused in confusion, and steady in uncertainty. Purpose also connects us to others. When we live for something greater than ourselves, our empathy grows. We see people not as obstacles, but as fellow travelers. We understand their struggles, we respect their journeys. And this understanding reduces anger and increases compassion. In the end, emotional strength is not built in moments of comfort. It is built in moments of challenge, guided by purpose. It is built when we choose growth over comfort, meaning over ease, and clarity over reaction. When we live with purpose, we no longer ask, "Why is this happening to me?" We ask, "How is this shaping me?" And in that question lies transformation. Because a life guided by purpose is a life anchored in peace. And when our lives have meaning, anger loses its grip, frustration loses its voice, and calm becomes our natural state.